These are based on the fan, the traditional Japanese fan that were used to cool you, but also they're thought of as a good sign of good luck in Japan.
Oh, amazing.
They were super beautiful, and you definitely got some luck from it, I think.
Yeah, I was lucky in finding it, so that's really cool. I'm the owner of Home Union, vintage, I don't know how to describe it, vintage and design store. I own it with my wife, Megan Lavery. We moved to this location about a month before the pandemic hit. We worked real hard to get open and try to get some free rent in our build-out time, and then we had to close. But we were open for a month before we shut down. Before that, we were on South 2nd Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. We were there for 3 years, so I think we're going on 6 years of being a business. I think there's been like a renaissance of vintage designers throughout, even companies reissuing old designs, designers that weren't necessarily household names before. I feel like there were no designers that were household names before, apart from a few, and people knew Eames or some other ones. But now, Alto seems to be like a name that's all over the world, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm always a huge fan of Afra and Tobias Scarpa, who are some of my favorite Italian designers. These are the Bastiano chairs. These are walnut, made by Knoll, and I believe these are 70s versions. I really love these. My wife and I kind of started doing this totally accidentally. I was working as an apprentice in a furniture shop, and I really wanted to start making my own furniture. That was always the goal. But I started looking at the startup costs of creating a wood shop and just the material. Like, you need a lot of startup capital.
Can you imagine?
So I started fixing things on the side, and we filled our house, our one-bedroom apartment, pretty quickly, and realized, oh man, we have 38 chairs in our one-bedroom apartment right now. So we started putting stuff on Instagram for sale. And my wife did set shopping for a while, so we both kind of have like the decor thing covered. Yeah, I think that Italian wicker, I think wicker has a little bit of a stigma in the United States. It kind of is like my grandmother's stuff that you don't want. But I think here are a few examples of how it can be really stunning, and it's a natural material, which actually is getting harder to get as well. But I just love the lines of this with the natural weave. I think it's stunning. This is Tito Agnoli, and it was definitely right place, right time for us because nobody was really selling on Instagram yet. It was like, I think we were one of like the first 15 or 20 accounts in general. Like, a few people were selling clothes, like vintage clothes, and we were like, let's try it for furniture. And we started out of our apartment, and then we were like, oh, we need a storage unit, and then we just had like a regular storage unit, and then we were like, oh, we need a showroom. So we actually started at the end of DeVoe here on Morgan Ave. It was our first showroom, but it was way too small for the amount of stuff that we had in there. So then store, and now we're like, we need a bigger store. And now who knows what's next. But the plie chair, Giancarlo Peretti. They're made of lucite and bent steel. In the past, we've collaborated with quite a few brands, and it needs to fit our aesthetic first and foremost, and it needs to be something that you can't necessarily get everywhere else. This is like a really cool example of a collaboration that we did, and we want to do something that's exclusive to us that also fits the aesthetic. Juji decor, and the rugs that we did with pieces were an organic kind of collaboration with a local brand that we've been fans of forever. And they approached us to do some designs for them, and we landed on several different rug designs and truly collaborated. Like we worked, I think we had like, I don't know, 20, 30 meetings on it before they came out. Like we really worked at it to make sure that both of our brands were represented the way we wanted to be represented. Yeah, so we wanted something a little bit more unique. So we've been finding that a lot of people are going a little bit more neutral with their furniture. So if you have neutral furniture, you can have a little bit more of a statement rug, or vice versa. So we have like a neutral option, but then we have the colorful options. This is the Salerno runner. This is something we initially just made in a full-size rug, and then we realized that this funny little curve could be really cool as a runner and something that you don't necessarily see everywhere and every day. I love the idea of minimalism in a design. I can't say I necessarily live this way because I like stuff too much, but I would love to see just this rug, a beautiful Noguchi lantern, and a chair. Like very simple, as basic as it can be. Just let the design speak and give them space to breathe. I'm not gonna open it, but it actually folds open. You undo these straps, folds open, becomes a bed, which is really cool. Wow. It's called the Amphibio sofa. This is the Jin chair from, have you guys seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Oh, yes. She hasn't, but yeah. It's kind
So
of...
there's one, actually, so to think that this was designed in 1968 before we went to the moon, and that movie came out before we went to the moon, that always blew my mind. But they're on the space station, and they have several of those in the room. You don't often see them in like a rusty color. You normally see them in like a bright color, but I love the natural color of this. I always tell people, buy what you need most. Most people need a couch, which is actually one of the hardest things to find in vintage world, and they're no cheaper and they're no easier to find. But a dresser or a sofa is always a good bet. I think a really good Scandinavian, Danish designed dresser is something that you can kind of keep forever and will survive the trends, because we're in a time where trends are, even in furniture, are changing
For sure.
fast. But somehow like a piece like this over here, Danish design,
Beautiful.
it still looks good, it still looks fresh, it's gonna look good anywhere you put it.
Stunning.
This is something, a pretty rare one to find in America. It's by Rudd Thygesen and Johnny Sorensen. Definitely you have that Memphis-inspired, very postmodern, playful. I was told that it kind of looks like an abacus down here.
Oh, you're right.
It's almost toy-like, but I could really see this in a minimally designed space just popping, and it becomes the feature of a room very easily that way.
And where do you see the vintage market like going from now on? Like
Man.
trends, or what are your predictions around it?
So Megan and I have always tried to just stay like a few beats ahead of the trend, and it's been so fast. Like I mentioned, it's fast fashion, but it's fast furniture fashion now, which is tricky. So, in the last few years, we saw a major comeback of 80s design and super, super colorful design. And now I feel like while that stuff is really cool, your stuff like the Bobby cart here, timeless, really excellent practical design that you can use kind of anywhere. We are gonna see a lot more natural materials come back in, a lot of the rattan, a lot of paper, wood, stuff like that. I think it's coming back.
Now we're gonna have something fun for you, and it's our rapid fire questions.
All right, question number 1, Italian or Danish, and why?
I'm gonna go Danish, and I go Danish because that's how I fell in love with design. Being an apprentice, the furniture maker that I was working for, he turned me on to Hans Wegner, and without Hans Wegner, for me, it wouldn't have started.
Plastic, wood, or metal?
If I have to choose one, I'm gonna go wood, but I think my favorite thing is when different materials are mixed. Marcel Breuer is a perfect example. I love the B35. I don't have one here right now, but it has wooden arms, bent steel, and rattan weave, and I just think it's the most stunning thing ever.
Best furniture designer of all time. You might have already touched on this, but...
Yeah, best furniture designer all time, to me, Alvar Aalto. Extremely utilitarian design, but is able to be elegant at the same time. And I don't think he ever called himself a furniture designer. He's an architect. But he just designed furniture for spaces. Second favorite, Afra and Tobias Scarpa. They're a home union staple at this point.
Paintings or serigraphs?
So if you have the capital to get yourself a painting, an authentic Joseph Albers or something like that, then absolutely. But from a collectible standpoint, if you just want the look and you want something that is collectible, but you don't have to take out like a special insurance quote on it, then I would go serigraphs for people like me.